are going to do the test fit. See, we chosen the muslin fabric or a long cloth fabric to test the fit. So, the fabric is been already dipped in the water and the shrinkage is been avoided. So, this is our skirt pattern. I fold, we need to cut 10 pieces of this, cut 10 pieces. So, I fold the fabric, fabric into the warp direction first, then to the web direction. So, we are getting 4 panels at a time, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, the fold has to be made in such a way to get 4 panels at a time. First trace on fold, because the fabric is also on fold, keep the pattern on fold and trace the outline. Place the pattern and pin the pattern. To avoid the slippage, we can pin the pattern along with the fabric and draw the outline, notches, and remove the same pattern and open the pattern. Match the grain line. And draw the line and put in the opposite direction to reduce the consumption of the fabric. Put on the opposite direction and mark. So, we marked the panels. So, out of this we are going to get 2 pieces, out of this we are going to get 4 pieces, and out of this is going to get 4 pieces. So, all together we are getting 6 panels, and 5 panel will be at the front and 5 panel will be at the back. Now, we are going to cut on the outline. Now we cut the total requirement of 10 pieces in the same size, and we should attach the side panels both together. By following the right side, you should attach the subsequent pieces. Front and 5 pieces to be attached together for the back. Keep it right side face to face, one among the other. With the off-in seam allowance, we already left off-in seam allowance. The seam allowance has to be maintained properly. It is very important to maintain the seam allowance. So it is a straight line, it won't make so much of difference, but when it is in the body, the seam allowance has to be maintained properly, otherwise the shape will go wrong. Now we finish attaching 4 pieces, one more piece to be attached for the front. Now the 5 pieces are attached for the front, and this is going to be equal to the front umpire line. The same thing has to be done for the back also. So front accomplished with 5 pieces, and back going to be accomplished with the 5 pieces, which gives much flare at the bottom, and this waist measurement can fit with the umpire line. Now we are going to cut the bodies. So I laid all the pattern on top of the muslin fabric. The fabric is being folded twice, folded at the center and pinned, because we need 2 pieces of everything and the center back should be on fold. So I am keeping the center back on fold. So we need to check the grain line. Grain line is parallel to this. Just trace the outline. Trace the outline with the notches. Notch marks will denote how much the seam allowance is. So the layman can follow where to start the stitch and where to end the stitch. The back is traced, then the side panel. We need to check the grain line. Back is on fold, so it will be automatically in a proper grain. but when you are laying these small pieces, we need to check the grain line. Grain line should be always parallel to the warp. So, the measurement at the bottom of the grain line and the top of the grain line should be same. So, you must place in such a way that it should be equal from the center. Then pin it. The same thing, this panel should also be checked. And the center front grain line should also be checked. 16.5, 16.5, exactly the same. Even a small slippage on 2 layer will create line matching problem and the notches won't get match, then the bust point won't match, so fit problem will arise. Your cutting should be proper with the grain line as well as with the seam notches and marks. So, remove all the pattern. And this fabric should be laid on a cork table, then the slippage will be avoided. Cut the pattern. The outline has to be cut. This is the plain fabric and also the lining fabric. So, we are not deeply concentrating on the right side and wrong side of the fabric. When it is been your actual fabric or the printed fabric, we should be very careful to cut on the right and wrong side. But this method will work for both right one side and both side printed fabric, because we are folding on the center back. We are cutting the panel together. So, if this is the right side, this will be right side. When this is the wrong side, and this will be wrong side. Always we need to trace the pattern on the wrong side only. So, when this is the wrong side, this will also be wrong side. So, the other side will come, the adjacent side will come on the other way. So, making it on fold and cutting will give the proper side pattern. The right side, wrong side won't get changed. Make notches on the fabric. This will help you to attach by following the notch marks on the fabric. So, we finish cutting off the front, the back, these are the 4 panels required for the bodies, a center back panel and side panel. Center back is on fold. When you are opening, it will be like this, and two of the side panel will be attached at both the sides. And this is the front panel. which is going to be overlapped. The front alone is going to be overlapped like this, and then the side panel is going to be attached along as a princess line like this. So, we will do the assembly now. Match that notch point. This 2 notch should get matched. So, we pinned the front, which gives the princess line, and the bust room, and it has been overlapped, and the keyhole has been formed. The back should also be pinned in such a way that the princess line So, the back should be assembled like this and the front should be assembled like this, and both will be attached in the shoulder. And the panel bottom layer and this layer will be attached along with this to get a flared anarkali kameez. So, the front and back should be attached separately. See, it has the overlapping at the front as well as it has the boat neck. So, it is not necessary to have the opening. If you feel that the umpire line is not passing to the shoulder, then you can have the zipper open at the side. Being this on the umpire line, the shoulder will be easily passed through this. So, it is not necessary to have a side zip or a zipper opening at anywhere. The neck opening is sufficient to wear the garment. The full sleeve at the armhole. Follow the grain line. Draw the basic sleeve. The center grain line has to be parallel to the selvage, and draw the outline. We are doing the full fitted sleeve. There is no sleeve variation. So, we are using the same basic sleeve pattern to fit. Now, we should allow allowance. The side seam can be 1 inch because we left the allowance in the body as 1 inch. So, it is if any alteration also we can use this 1 inch allowance. For the further alteration, allow 1 inch allowance at the side and half an inch at the armhole, sorry, half an inch at the hemline and half an inch for the armhole also. Now, mark the wrong side for paring. Cut on the outline. Cock table will be better. The slippage of the fabric. Even though you pinned, it could arise with some little problem when you are using with this kind of a table. So, the sleeve is done. All the components are cut. We should assemble and make it ready for the test fit. You can either sew or you can make the pinning properly and check the test fit. And the changes of the neckline and the princess line has to be done. Neckline is the shoulder width 2.5 inch. This neck width is be decided by the shoulder width. It is 2.5 inch at the front. We are keeping the same, and the back neck is being deepened by 1 inch from the shoulder. It is 2.5 inch, and we are deepening from the center back neck by 1 inch down, and then take a perpendicular line at the new neck drop and draw the back neck. Then we will get, so from the armhole to the neck point, the shoulder width is being decided by 2.5 inch to get the wide back neck, and the center back neck is being deepened by 1 inch, and the length is freeze. Now we should take a princess line. For the design purpose, we are doing a princess line. And this is the dot end. But the princess line ending at here. So you should connect the dot blend with the princess line, so this point is the matching point, because the dot end has been straight and this has been away by 1/8 of an inch at this level, and at this meeting down by 1 inch. So you should mark again this level and 1.5 inch below a line to reference of adjoining. For the reference of adjoining, we are making 2 points. So this should get matched and this should get matched, then only the seam will be perfect. Again we are going to trace the center back separately and the side panel separately. This is center back panel. And mark the grain line. This is the grain line for the back side panel, and the center line itself. And this is the grain line for the center back panel. So this should also be cut to, and when you are taking this on fold, So, the center back is on fold, and this is the grain line. Center back panel, cut 2. Back side panel, cut 2. Now, we are going to divide the panels and we have to true the waistline. Just fold the dart and draw the curve, then only the seam line will match. So, we drawn a new curve. Now, we can start cutting. When center back is on fold, we need to cut one piece. When you wanted to fix the zip at the center back, then it can be cut too. So, this is the princess line. This is the princess line for the back. This has the side panel and the center back panel. This is the center front panel, which has the princess line and the adjoining notches, and it is getting extended. So, one will go to the right side, another will come to the left side, but this remain single piece on both the sides. So, the body is over. We can have either the side open or the center back open. The design has the bodies and the skirt, and the body has the princess line and the skirt is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panel at the front and 5 panel at the back, and it is being attached a border on top of it. The total length is being decided from the high point shoulder to the bottom level is 50 inches. And the body height is around 12 inch. So, we are going to decide the length of the skirt is total height minus the body height is 50 minus 12 is equal to 38 inches as the skirt length, and the skirt is going to be attached at the waist umpire line. The measurement has to be taken from the pattern of side panel waist, center panel waist and the back also. The total circumference of that measurement is around 30 inches. So, we are going to make the panel skirt for that. So, all the panel are in equal size. So, it is necessary to take one pattern on fold that can be repeated to cut 10 panels. So, we can directly do with the calculation. The total waist length is 30 inches. We are going to cut 10 panels. This is the umpire round, okay. Otherwise, it is referred as a waist round. The umpire round is 30 inches. Number of panel which we required is 10 inch. But in order to get the side line straight, we are going to take it on fold. So, the center line is going to be on fold. The center line of the panel is going to be on fold. So, the division, again this is on 2, it has to be multiplied by 2. So, the calculation comes 30 divided by 20 is equal to 1.5 inches, and the bottom can be taken as 3 times of the umpire level or 4 times of the umpire round. The umpire round 30 into 3 is equal to 90 inches, or it can be 140 inches. It depends upon the flare which we require, and also it depends upon the fabric which you want to use. If the fabric is too wide, you can even increase the bottom flare. So, the next is we have to decide how much the length we need. The length is 50 minus 12 is equal to 38 inches. Mark 38 inches, lower down 1 inch and mark 38 inches. (36, 37, 38 inches) and draw perpendicular line here 38 inches and draw perpendicular line. At both sides, at the bottom as well as at the top, we should draw a perpendicular line. Then mark 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch for the waistline, and if it is 3 times it is 4.5 inch, 4 times it is 6 inch. Now join. So, this is the side of the panel and this is the center of the panel. You can raise up by 1/8 of an inch. You should raise up by 1/8 of an inch at the side and draw a curve. Now, the panel length is 38 inches. The same 38 inches should be at the side also. So, the center length is 38 and we raised up by 1/8 of an inch, and the side length should also be should also be 38. Mark 38 inches. Now, with the use of French curve, you should draw a curve. So, till the mid it has to be straight, then we should connect the curve. So, the top also has a minimum curve and the bottom is also having curve. So, this is for the single panel and we have taken a straight slant line for the side and the straight line at this middle. Now, we should make the cut. We can directly allow the seam allowance for this. The seam allowance half an inch can be allowed directly in the pattern itself. Now, cut the panel. The center line is the grain line. This is the grain line. So, we have to cut 10 pieces for front 5 and back 5. This is the panel skirt. So, you can make a notch at the center and center to match the grain line. So, on this we are going to cut 10 pieces. Now, the skirt is done and the neck facing has to be taken, and we can use the basic sleeve pattern itself to develop the sleeve. Because it is a 7/8 of sleeve, we should reduce only the sleeve length. By using the basic sleeve pattern itself, we can directly cut the sleeve. For this flared anarkali kameez, we finish back, front and skirt. At the back we have a keyhole. At the front also we have a keyhole. Front keyhole is being developed in the pattern, whereas the back keyhole has to be developed. The keyhole I marked from the center back neck towards down as 5 inches. It can be marked as per the requirement of the client or for your wish, and the width can also be changed. And mark 5 inches and draw with the French curve, with the use of French curve, draw a curve from center back to the center back neck, which can be unfold, will give this kind of a keyhole at the back. And now we are going to cut the keyhole . So, the neck keyhole is done and the center back done. So, we have all the ready pattern, which is center back and back side panel, and then the center front and center front side panel. This pattern has to be cut ready with the seam allowance ready for cutting the fabric. So, again we need to cut the pattern as a production pattern, which has all the seam allowance in it. So, draw the outline and make the notch mark and mark the notches. Center back piece, this is the grain line, and we should mark half an inch all around the pattern for the seam allowance. Center back should be unfold. On the deepest curve, it is important to allow less seam allowance as 1/4 inch, because we are going to finish this with the piping. When you decided to finish the neck and the keyhole as in a piping, it should be allowed the neckline as well as this with a 1/4 inch, then only the finish will be better. I decided to do the piping at the back neck, front neck as well as the keyhole. So, we are allowing 1/4 inch seam allowance at the neckline and the keyhole, and the front also we are going to allow the same. And this is the production pattern which is ready to cut, and we should write the information as on fold, the center back is on fold and the grain line, then the name of the pattern, center back panel, and the size 8 and style number which 005 and cut number 1. So, we can mark the seam notch also which is parallel to the ready line, will be easy to stitch while stitching. Okay. Then we can start do the cutting. Cutting of back panel. The center back panel is ready. Now we are going to trace the side back panel, the armhole, side seam, waistline, bust point, adjoining notches and the princess line together. At the side we can allow around 1 inch for the further alteration if the size for the individual clients. So, if the size want to be adjusted, we should allow 1 inch at the side to make the alterations, and then allow 1/2 inch as the back, waist, and along with the princess line also it can be 1/2 inch. We can do the plain seam and we can finish with the overlock. So, it needs 1/2 inch seam allowance at the armhole as well as at the princess line. Now you can draw the cutting line parallel to the ready line. And we should trace the grain line from the basic pattern. Grain line you should mark the punch with the punch awl and mark the point, because the grain has to be straight. Okay, that straightness cannot be followed from the side seam, it should be followed from the center front. So, the grain line of the side panel have to be traced from the basic pattern and mark the grain line. Otherwise, the seam won't fit properly, seam puckering will happen. And here also the name of the pattern is side panel, back side panel, and size 8, style number the same style number, and cut number 2. It is going to be at the both the side of the center back. So, you need to cut 2 pieces, and we should mark the seam notch parallel to the seam line. And you should mark the dot end and the adjacent notches also. Cut the production pattern. So, the back side panel is also ready. Now, we are going to do the front panel. First, mark the grain line and trace the outline of the pattern by following the notch marks of the bust point and the adjoining notch and the armhole, shoulder line, neckline and the keyhole and the extension from center front for the overlap and the waistline. So, first draw the grain line. This is the center front line as well as the grain line. You should have a notch and a grain mark over there, because this center front has to match for both the seam line, and shoulder seam is around half an inch, and everywhere we should allow half an inch, half an inch and half an inch and half an inch on all 4 sides, and at the neckline it should be quarter inch, because we are going to attach piping. So, at the neckline it is quarter inch, and rest can be half an inch. We are going to attach the sleeve along with the armhole, so the seam allowance can be half an inch. Likewise, the side panel should also be traced. As the back, we should give 1 inch seam allowance at the side for the further alterations. Bottom half an inch. Princess line half an inch. So, while marking the seam allowance, it should be perpendicular to the curve or a line. If it goes slant, then the allowance will vary. Connect the allowance. the grain line has to be marked. We already marked the grain line parallel to the center front. The same grain line has to be traced, otherwise the grain will go wrong. The name of the pattern is front side panel, size 8, cut number 2, style number 5. We should cut and make it ready to cut on the fabric. We already took the pattern of skirt. So, totally we need front 2 pattern, back 2 pattern and the skirt pattern. So, totally we need 5 pattern to finish the garment plus sleeve. If you wanted to attach the sleeve, 6 pieces has to be taken as pattern and the neckline will be finished with a bias bound or a piping.